One of the things that's very important to remember about Shakespeare is that he doesn't always follow the rules and conventions of the dramatic genres that he works with. Earlier, when we looked at the figure of Iago, you learned about some of the ways Shakespeare breaks the rules with his portrayal of this famous character. In this section, we're going to look at two other important ways in which Shakespeare does this so-called rule-breaking in Othello. Breaking the rules is a vital part of what makes Shakespeare, Shakespeare. First, Othello disrupts the normal processes of tragedy. In the early parts of the play, the plot functions very much like a comedy. Othello and Desdemona overcome, or at least appear to overcome, the obstacles to their marriage. It is only after this comic beginning, in which tragedy is averted as obstacles to love are overcome, that the plot of the tragedy of Othello, the Moor of Venice, seems to begin, and the tragic protagonist begins his fall from good to bad fortunes. Second, the female characters of Othello are given far more agency and complexity than is sometimes the case in early modern tragedies. At the beginning of this section, you learned about some of the common aspects of Shakespeare's tragedies that Emma Smith has identified. One of these was the fact that male characters are prominent and active. While this is still true of Othello, and Iago and Othello are still the main characters, the female characters are unusually active in this play. Iago's wife, Emilia, is vocal and disobedient. When she reveals Iago's deception, she goes against convention. Desdemona, too, fiercely defends herself. Her speech in Act 1, Scene 3 is a perfect example of this. Next, explore Desdemona's defence of her right to marry Othello. Read her speech from Act 1, Scene 3, and then hear it spoken. After that, jump into the discussion of the language Desdemona uses. You know a good deal about the different kinds of language Shakespeare uses and why he uses it. Now it's time to put that knowledge into practice in the discussion of Desdemona's defence.